There's a reason why some things that used to excite you don't feel the same anymore. You're not necessarily losing interest in life. Maybe you're simply outgrowing a version of yourself that has already served its purpose. What you once tolerated now weighs on you. Conversations you used to enjoy now leave you feeling empty. And that feeling can confuse you because it seems like something is wrong with you. But maybe God is making room for something different. Sometimes growth doesn't feel like gaining something. It feels like losing the desire to keep being who you used to be. 2. Imagine discovering that the person holding you back the most wasn't someone who hated you, but yourself. Every time something started working, you found a reason to doubt it. Every time someone believed in you, you thought they were exaggerating. And whenever an opportunity appeared, you remembered every time you had failed. Without realizing it, you started protecting yourself from failure by also avoiding the possibility of winning. God can open a door. You could be the one who chooses not to walk through it. Maybe your next battle isn't outside. It's in the story you've been telling yourself about who you are for years. 3. One day, someone will thank you for something you don't even remember doing. A word you said, advice you gave, or a moment when you listened without judging. To you, it was just an ordinary moment. To that person, it may have been exactly what they needed to keep going. That's why you never fully know the impact your life has. God can use small actions in ways you may never get to see. Maybe you're waiting to do something huge before you feel like you have a purpose, while you're already leaving footprints in places your own eyes will never see. 4. There's something strange about losing an argument. Sometimes you win the argument and lose the relationship. You prove that you were right, find the perfect words, and leave the other person with nothing to say. But then the silence comes, and you discover that feeling victorious is nothing like feeling at peace. God also works through the way you respond when you're right, because being right doesn't always mean you need to use it to hurt someone. Maybe true maturity begins when you no longer need to win every conversation to feel valuable. 5. You realize you've been waiting for a sign for months, but when you honestly look at your situation, you discover that you already have enough information. You know which relationship is hurting you. You know which habit is holding you back. You know which decision you've been postponing. You know which conversation you need to have. What's missing isn't clarity. It's courage, and maybe you keep asking for another sign, because another sign would allow you to delay the decision a little longer. God can give you direction, but there are moments when the answer won't be another sign. It will be the courage to obey the one you've already received. 6. The next time something goes wrong, pay attention to what you do during the first 10 minutes. That's when a version of you appears that you usually hide. Do you blame someone? Become anxious? Isolate yourself? Or do you breathe, pray, and try again? You can't always control what happens. God doesn't only want to change the circumstances you face. He can also use those circumstances to reveal what still needs to grow inside you. Maybe the test didn't come to prove that you're weak. It came to show you where you still need to become stronger. 7. One day, you'll stop explaining why you deserve to be where you are. You won't need everyone to understand your decisions. You won't respond to every criticism. You won't try to convince people who have already decided to misunderstand you. Not because you become indifferent, but because you finally understood that your peace is worth more than having the last word. God knows your intentions even when others only see part of the story. And maybe one of the greatest signs that you've matured will be this. You'll be able to keep walking forward without stopping every time someone behind you calls your name. Art, you receive news that changes your plans. And for a few minutes, you feel like everything has been ruined. You had dates, goals, numbers, and a pretty clear idea of how your life was supposed to happen. Now you have to reorganize everything. The first thing you think is, why did God allow this? Not because the pain was pleasant, but because it forced you to discover paths you never would have chosen voluntarily. Some detours feel like delays while you're living through them, until you discover they were taking you somewhere your old plan never could have found. 9. There's a version of your future you're destroying every time you say, tomorrow I'll start. Tomorrow I'll save money. Tomorrow I'll pray. Tomorrow I'll make the call. And while you keep repeating that word, days become months without you realizing how much you're postponing. But God gave you this day, not a guarantee about all the days that will come after it. You don't need to transform your entire life tonight. You only need to stop negotiating with that decision you already know you need to make. Because maybe your future doesn't need a perfect version of you. It needs you to stop postponing the first step today. 10. One day, you may have the opportunity to get revenge on someone who hurt you deeply. You could prove that they were wrong, show them everything you achieved, and make them feel exactly what you felt. But then you remember how hard you worked to regain your peace. You understand that becoming what hurt you will not be a victory. God didn't bring you out of a wound, so you could become someone who spends their life trying to return it. Your greatest response may not be proving that you survived, but building a life so full of purpose that you no longer need that person to see who you became.